Happy Friday, July 18th, and major news this Friday afternoon. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard declassifying some bombshell documents today that prove, or at minimum, provide overwhelming evidence of Barack Obama's culpability in Russiagate. Trump's DOJ gunning for scalps right now after everything that's happened this week. They are running full steam ahead. We're going to show you what we know. Also, Congress approving the Doge $9 billion rescissions package and the media falling right into Trump's trap, and more stories as well from around the country, including an update on Epstein's bank account. Wait till you see this coming from a very unlikely source.
All right, following up on our breaking news, Brooks Singman of Fox News Digital has discovered exclusively that the FBI is now investigating the former CIA Director John Brennan and the former FBI Director James Comey in conjunction with the genesis of the Russia investigation. This comes after the CIA declassified last week a report into how that all came about. Let's bring in our panel to talk more about this. Annie Linsky, the White House reporter for the Wall Street Journal, USA Today White House correspondent Francesca Chambers, and Josh Holmes, co-host of the Ruthless podcast and former chief of staff to Senator Mitch McConnell. Annie, start us off here. The fact that the FBI is looking into Brennan and Comey now, when this declassified CIA report came out, people said, will prosecutions follow?
DNI Tulsi Gabbard publishing new explosive documents. These documents have been classified for over 9 years, folks. Nobody has seen these before today. Tulsi taking to X just an hour ago, the director of national intelligence writing on X, their goal was to usurp President Trump and subvert the will of the American people. No matter how powerful, every person involved in this conspiracy must be investigated and prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. The integrity of our democratic republic depends on it. We are turning over all of these documents to the DOJ for criminal referral. We're going to break down what we know so far. Many of these files were turned over directly to DOJ today for criminal referral, like Tulsi said, but what we do know, the documents that we do have, shows that this story stretched all the way back to June, July 2016, months before the election. And look, it's been speculated and somewhat corroborated that there was planning happening inside the Obama administration to create the Russiagate hoax. The documents Tulsi just declassified were IC consensus reports that showed for months preceding the election in 2016, the U.S. intel community never believed Russia hacked the election, never believed they manipulated it or even helped Trump in any way. These are in these IC assessment reports. All of that, the genesis of the story, ties back to an order that Barack Obama gave to his intel chiefs to create this story out of thin air, folks, using, wait for it, Hillary Clinton's paid-for Steele dossier. Yes, everything that conservative media, that Sean Hannity has been saying for years, it turns out is true. Obama knew Russia had no plans and didn't interfere. Again, the proof in these assessments that were inside Obama's presidential daily briefings, which we can now see, which is amazing, by the way, snippets of, and just realize how big this is. The POTUS daily briefing, one of the most top secret intel packages in the entire U.S. government. Tulsi declassifying them today, snippets of them. Look at this, August 31st, we are working with CIA on PBD submission on the threat. The thrust of the analysis is that there is no indication of a Russian threat to directly manipulate the actual vote count through cyber means. Then on September 9th, again, we agree with Russia probably is not and will not try to influence the election by using cyber to manipulate computer-enabled election infrastructure. Then on December 8th, 2016, this is the important one. Only 5 weeks before Trump gets sworn into office, the IC prepared an assessment for President Obama's daily briefing that found Russia did not impact recent U.S. election results. That's after the election on December 9th. They found Russia did not interfere, but before it reached President Obama, it got abruptly pulled. Why? Based on new guidance, not based on new intel, but pulled based on new executive guidance. What does that mean? The next day, top national security officials, including FBI Director James Comey, CIA Director John Brennan, and DNI James Clapper, meet with Obama in the Oval Office to discuss this new executive guidance. The topic? Russia. In that meeting, Obama directs the IC to create a new intel assessment that details Russia's election meddling, that Russia did meddle in the election, even though that contradicts all their previous assessments that the IC released over the previous months. And look at this. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. This is the smoking gun evidence that ties this all back to Barack Obama. An email sent to ODNI leaders that, again, has been classified until today. This email sent December 9th, one day after Obama's meeting with Brennan, Comey, and Clapper, saying the IC is prepared to produce an assessment per the president's request that pulls together any info we have on the tools Moscow used to influence the election. ODNI will lead the effort with participation from CIA, FBI, NSA, and DHS. The assessment they're referencing here was based on nothing. They had nothing that pointed to Russia interfering in the election. So, wait for this. What did they use? The disproven Steele dossier paid for by Hillary Clinton. Obama clearly peddling this from Clinton's team to his intel heads, told them, run with it, and they did. And now they're all under criminal investigation. This is wild, because it means that conservative media has been right about this whole story the entire time for almost 9 years. It turns out this is true, and mainstream media hadn't touched it. The DOJ receiving the information for the first time today, sent over by Tulsi in this criminal referral. And look, whether you want to say this is a distraction from the Epstein files, which very well could be the case, probably is, it doesn't change the fact that this is a huge document dump. There's a lot that we didn't know before this. Tulsi Gabbard delivering again. In another story, Democrat Senator Ron Wyden dropping an unexpected bombshell on the Epstein story. It's not often you see this, folks, a Democrat focusing on Epstein, but we are. Ron Wyden revealing Epstein received $1.1 billion with a B, in wire transfers from a single bank account, and nobody, he says, knows or is even trying to know, trying to learn who or why they were sending this money to him. Watch.
Treasury's Epstein file details, Mr. President, 4,725 wire transfers. Let me repeat that. 4,725 wire transfers, adding up to nearly $1.1 billion flowing in and out of just one of Mr. Epstein's bank accounts. If you ask me, that is more than 4,000 potential lines of investigation right there. Hundreds of millions more flowed through other accounts. That's even a lot more to investigate. The file shows that Mr. Epstein used multiple Russian banks, which are now under sanctions, to process payments related to sex trafficking.
The Epstein story finally getting a little less murky yesterday after we're learning why Trump was acting so weird about it, because he knew the entire week what was happening, that the Wall Street Journal was planning to release this ridiculous smear job, this silly personal birthday letter story, which Trump told us about this morning on Truth Social, that he told Rupert Murdoch, do not run the story. It was fake. I did not write that letter. And Rupert Murdoch running it anyways, and now Trump's saying he's going to sue his ass. Well, finally, that clears some of this up. Why Trump's been calling this another Dem hoax.
No, she's given us just a very quick briefing, and in terms of the credibility of the different things that they've seen. And I would say that, these files were made up by Comey. They were made up by Obama. They were made up by the Biden information. We went through years of that with the Russia hoax, with all of the different things that we had to go through. We've gone through years of it, but she's handled it very well, and it's going to be up to her. Whatever she thinks is credible, she should release. Yeah.
And the more we're watching all this play out, how finally, after years, Dems and the media starting to cover the Epstein story, these people, they've been avoiding this like the plague for years. Now they're giddy to cover it. Watch what CNN's doing now. Watch how they're talking about this story.
I mean, the idea that this is a fake document coming from the Wall Street Journal and their editor, Emma Tucker, that Rupert Murdoch, whose Fox News is one of the most, the biggest supporters of this presidency, that he would publish something that wasn't rock solid, is absolutely, it belies incredulity. And so I do not believe that this is fake. And I think it's going to cause an enormous problem for this president. Why? Because at every juncture, all fingers have pointed to Donald Trump in the Epstein matter.
These people really are so dumb. They just can't help but try to end Trump any way they can. For the first time in 10 years, there was a real, genuine riff in MAGA. And these morons come in and publish this love letter story that they say Trump wrote, which he clearly didn't. I mean, all they had to do is just stay out of it, and maybe they could have hurt him, but they just can't help themselves. And now we have Dems writ large jumping on the Epstein train. This may very well have been part of Trump's plan, folks. And breaking right now on air minutes ago, AG Pam Bondi has officially filed a motion in court to unseal the Epstein grand jury testimony files. That is huge. Realize that's a big deal. Grand jury testimony is super secret, super sensitive, never to see the light of day. The fact that this may be released publicly and that there's talk now to release the FBI investigation files like the FBI 302s and their field notes, agent field notes, and other information, that's making a lot of people very, very nervous. Watch.
There isn't actually any public right to be able to see into sensitive FBI files, right? You can file a FOIA request, but there are something like 9 different exceptions to FOIA, and some of them are, sensitive material, investigative material, needed in a prosecution, things like that. So this is uncommon for people to be screaming for information from an investigative file.
Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think this could have been part of Trump's plan all along? Stir the pot, get everybody talking about it before just releasing everything. Make sure it can't get swept under the rug. I don't know. I still think it's probably more likely it's just turning out this way. But regardless, these files being made public, grand jury testimony, that's a huge win, a big win for transparency. Let me know what you think. All right, that wraps up this episode. Like, subscribe. We'll see you next time.